guys, it's Lee from Outside the UK, and we're at the Music Gear Expo 2016 at South by Southwest, and I'm with Bryan from PRS, and he's going to talk us through some of the instruments he's got here on the stand. How you doing, Bryan?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Very well, thanks. You?
Good, good.
Cool.
So some of the stuff we have today, a few things that are new to 2016. We have the reintroduction of the CE, the Classic Electric, that was originally introduced in 1989. It was Paul's first foray into building a bolt-on guitar and building a guitar to try to bring into a lower price point, because as you know, in the 80s, a couple $1,000s for a guitar was a much bigger deal than it is now. And,
yeah, sure.
So trying to bring in something that more people could afford, and became very popular. With its reintroduction, there's a couple changes made to it, again, to try to keep the price point low. This guitar is only a couple $100s more than it was in 1989.
Okay,
so
cool.
Brand new. This 1999 now. I believe they were like 16 something in the 80s. So like the fact is, you know, almost 30 years later, the guitar is only a couple $100s more. It's pretty remarkable.
Wow. Yeah.
So a few of the changes. It has a slightly more subtle carve to the top. That violin carve at the top of a PRS guitar is a lot of what the costs of the US built PRS guitars is. A lot of man hours go into every sanding process. It's about 90 minutes per stage, from body sanding, finish sanding, base coat buffing. So, you know, trying to make the curve a little more subtle to reduce some of the time in manufacturing.
Yep.
They use the same process on the necks that they use on the S2s, where it has a scarf joint on the top. They use less raw materials. They use a thinner neck blank.
Right.
And other than that, it's the same electronics. These are the 8515 pickups. Across the line now in the core guitars, the 8515s and the 5815s are what you're going to find on all the guitars, with the exception of the guitars that have unique pickup, like the 513, the 408, the guitars that are designed around that pickup system.
Okay.
The 8515 is Paul's idea of the pickup he would have made in 1985 if he knew what he knows now. Came out in 2015, so the name 8515 came from that.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Very articulate pickup, a lot of beautiful top end. They clean up beautifully when you roll them down. Really great, very balanced sounding pickup. 5815, 1958 inspired pickup that came out. So those are nickel covered. Usually the 22 fret guitars, things like the McCartys, the hollow bodies, they all come with the vintage style pickup. That personally is my favorite pickup Paul's ever made.
Is that a lower output pickup?
A little bit, yeah. It's I don't know exactly how much compared to the 8515. There's definitely a few differences other than the covered, non-covered. Paul's been doing a lot in the past 10 years, really specifically, or since 2007 when he came out. You know, the 5708s and those. He's been working tirelessly on tweaking pickups and trying every combination, wire combinations and magnet combinations, and
Never stops.
yes, and stuff that he doesn't really talk a lot about. You know, even the people on the inside. He's, you know, but whatever he's doing, I'd say I think both of those sets of pickups he's knocked it out of the park. So. Those come on there. A few differences, like the bridge. A lot of people ask about the bridge. This does have the stainless steel bridge on it. It's not the brass bridge that you find on the core guitars. And I've heard a few people complain. They're like, "Oh, why'd they put the S2 bridge on it?" I personally like this bridge on this guitar. The stainless steel is a little brighter and snappier. The brass bridge is beautiful and warm sounding. But if you like that maple neck, bolt-on, and single coil sound, I think the brightness of that steel bridge actually gets you closer into those snappy single coil sounds. So
Yeah, sure.
it's a great guitar, super versatile. So that's new. A few of the other things, like there's he's playing the new 277. It's the SE baritone.
Right.
There's two of those. There's the humbucker version and a semi-hollow with P90s. Really, really super cool. The 277 refers to the scale length, 27.7 inch scale length. The Vella is the 1 year anniversary of the Vella guitar, which is again one of my favorites in the S2 line. You've got the Vella, the Starla, and the Mira, some of the more vintage inspired guitars.
And what pickups do they have?
So the bridge pickup is actually a Starla bridge pickup. It's the same ones that you find in the Starla, which is, I mean, it's kind of hard to describe. Even though it looks like a covered humbucker, it's a very low output humbucker, very bright, very open. They split really well. Like when you split it, it gets snarly and snappy, like great country sounds out of it. You get really cool Gretschy sounds out of it. It's almost Filtertron-y. The neck pickup is brand new to the Vela. They call it a D-type, which I believe is a tip to the hat of D-Armand. You know, it's that kind of, but it's really, it gets a great throaty, like Hendrixy neck sound, like really versatile guitar. It has everything in the S2 line. The tone pot pulls out so you can split the coils. So like with the Vela, I love the pot pulled out, and there's a really great balance between the two. It's even though there's a second row of screws on there, the neck pickup is a single coil pickup.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you don't get a massive volume drop in that?
No, well, with the volume pot pulled out, it's very even all the way across. And because the humbucker is a very low output, and they spent a lot of time balancing the pickups. I mean, they were designed to work together. And there's years of R&D with every new guitar. But when a guitar hits the market, they've been working on it for a long time. Yeah, laboring over every inch of it. You know, so they blend really, really well. Again, it's a big departure from what a lot of people know from PRS. You know, it's appealing to somebody who wants, the carved maple tops and all that stuff are beautiful, but it's not everybody's cup of tea. So trying to offer something that appeals to a different market. This is the S2 standard meaning all mahogany. They offer 3 guitars now in the satin finish. So again, cutting back time in production, the satin finish takes so much less time. There's no grain filler put on it. It's one pass of a nitro satin. You don't have to go through all the sanding process, the buffing process. So they were able to bring this in at $9.99. So a US built PRS for $1,000.
Impressive.
It's the cheapest you'll find, and I don't know if there's anything they're ever going to do to be able to. Paul's not going to put off the shelf hardware. He's not going to compromise in any other way. Again, great bang for the buck. But I love the feel of the set. Like the neck just has this great, like worn-in, comfortable feel. It's certainly not relic looking, but it definitely has a nice kind of comfortable, worn-in kind of feel.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
So there's a 24 fret, a 22 fret, and a single cut in the satin models. So the S2s range from this up to close to 15, but $1,000 to $1,500 of a lot of guitars to choose from on US built PRS.
Amazing.
Yeah. About a year and a half ago, the acoustic lineup changed a little bit. The A10E came out, which was an all mahogany guitar. Came in a really cool like tobacco finish and then a black finish. With very cool like white binding. Somebody looking for the non-traditional like wood looking, your granddad's acoustic guitar look, but to round that line out, the A20 and A30 have just been released this last year. This is the A30. The difference in all the guitars is just body wood. So the A10 is mahogany top, back, and sides. The A20, which we have over here, is a more traditional mahogany back, spruce top. And then we've got the A30, which is the rosewood spruce. And then the fourth one in the line is the Alex Lifeson model. Okay, the A15AL, but most people know as the Alex Lifeson. The main difference is outside of the back and sides, which are a Dow wood, D-A-O. I believe it's spelled D-A-O. Spelling is not my strong suit. It's very similar to Koa in look and sound. It was what he chose. They built a bunch of prototypes for Alex, but it's also, as you can see, a thin body. So that's what Alex wanted, a kind of a thinner, more comfortable, very durable guitar. So you can hang them together. So the 4 guitars in the lineup, you've got different body wood combinations, and then the thin line. Other than that, they all share the same electronic system. There's a volume and tone control right inside the sound hole. The battery is easy to access right inside on the heel, a string change. But that way you don't have to compromise the side of the body either integrally or just with a nice clean look without having to put a big piece of plastic there. Also, in all the guitars, the saddle and the nut are real bone. No plastic parts. These are like Ivoroid. Makes a huge difference. Even just, I took one of these and one of the bridge pins came out, and I grabbed a spare bridge pin out of my thing, a plastic one, and when I went through the strings, that string just sounded so dull and dead, and I had to go back to the factory and get a replacement real one, because I was amazed at what a difference that made.
Yeah, it makes that much difference.
Yeah. The bracing system on all these guitars is the same that he uses on the private stock models. Paul has been obsessed with a guitar that he discovered. It was about a 120-year-old acoustic guitar that he heard. There's a tiny, tiny little body, and it had put out tons of low end and was insanely loud. And it defies physics. Like, this little thing shouldn't sound like that. So he studied and it was a lot. He was obsessed with the bracing that they used on the top of the guitar. It has this guitar. All the guitars have an X brace, a more traditional X brace across the face, and then on the belly of the guitar is a fan brace, which you find a lot more often in a like a flamenco or nylon string guitar.
Right.
The backs and sides are braced pretty rigidly. You know, sometimes with an acoustic, you hold it out here and there's all this low end. As soon as you pull it to your body, you're choking all that resonance in the low end. The top is really doing all the work on this. But again, even in the $699 for the A10, up to about $829 to this one, still well under $1,000. They come with a hard shell case. Even in that price range, you know, you're getting Paul's design. It's not just a guitar made in a factory and Paul's name is slapped on it. It's everything is designed by Paul. As you know, Paul, if you're buying a $500 SE standard up to a private stock, he wants to build the best guitar in that price category. He wants to put it up against, you know, he'll put it up against guitars that cost twice as much. And as far as the playability, the fit, and the finish, the quality control, he, you know, as long as his name is on it, he's a stickler for every detail, and it shows, I think, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Do you think you could demo some guitars for us?
Absolutely, yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, so what we have here is the new CE. I'm playing through an Archon 25-watt combo in here, my little cozy booth. And I'm going to start off really just with a clean channel, because I think you really hear the detail of the pickups a lot better that way. So as I was saying, you know, it's the 8515 pickups. You know, typically with a bridge humbucker is not a tone that I go straight for clean. You know, maybe a single coil bridge or a neck humbucker kind of, you know, but the beautiful and warm still, like, and that's the bridge humbucker, not.
Yeah, there's no harsh top.
Not hard. Yeah, there's no harshness to it. It's you know, just a great sounding bridge. The neck pickup. Nice and warm, but still very articulate. Still cuts through the mix. But the way they split, to me, now all of the guitars from the CE, almost all of the core line, some of the vintage ones don't do this. The 594 does not. But the lower output pickups split sometimes better. There's not as much of a volume drop. But with these pickups, he started this with the 408, was where he, actually even they started a bit more with the Grissom back in the day. But they're true coil tap pickups. They're not coil split. Often, as you know, that those terms get kind of thrown around synonymously, but a coil split is when you take one coil and ground it completely out. The output is exactly half. Coil tap, you're tapping into the windings at a certain percentage. So with these pickups, when you engage the coil tap, you're getting 100% of one coil, and it taps in at about 15% of the other coil. So the volume drop to the single coil sound, here's the neck as a humbucker, and here it is, a single coil. Almost no perceivable volume drop, but obviously single coil, you know, throatiness and spank. So they split remarkably well. The bridge, you can you know, great single coil sounds, really bright articulate bridge sounds. Super versatile guitar. I did a demo for them of this, like when it first came out, and they wanted me to just go through, like I was going through like country stuff and then of course punishing it with a ton of gain and doing some rock stuff. It does it all very well, and I love the satin feel of the neck too. nice, super comfortable neck. I've always been a fan of bolt-on maple neck guitars, so this to me, I think probably might appeal, like where a Custom 24 would be great for somebody who's a humbucker player, a rock player, that wants some single coil sounds. This one is, I think, a guitar that really would appeal to somebody who comes from the single coil world, but also wants some like really usable humbucker sounds. And it's nice having this as opposed to, like if you do a hum single, you only get one humbucker sound. You can't do a neck humbucker. You can't have, unless you're doing a coil tap or a coil split, you can't really cover all that. So
Amazing.
Nice versatile guitar.
Yeah.
Want to hear a second of the Vella?
Yes, please.
Sure. This here's the Vella. The big departure for the Vella outside of the pickups is the bridge and the body shape. As you can see, it's a first time Paul's really done an offset body. It's still really a PRS shape where they've just taken the body contours and shifted it a little bit like this, and of course had to round out the edges a bit. But I remember seeing drawings of this. I would go into the factory and see drawings of this as it was kind of going through the process of being developed, and seeing the first few prototypes, and I absolutely fell in love with it. Like when it, at first sight, and they, I love pickguard guitars. I know love or hate thing. Some people hate them, but So this guitar, when it came out, was very exciting to me. The bridge is it's actually a milled from a solid block of aluminum, and it's or aluminium, I guess, as you say in London, right? Okay, so got to speak to the market. It's top loading. You can see the strings just lock in here, and there's two barrels. It's obviously a different sound, in that it's, the brass barrel style bridge. It's actually not too dissimilar to the Granger bass. There's a bass bridge. This is a design Paul actually developed many, many years ago, but this is the first time he's implemented it on a guitar.
Okay.
So it's not a new design for him. I've had a few people question, obviously it's very similar to another, there's similarities to another very, recognizable guitar.
T-Star.
Yes, yeah. But because you don't have that ashtray style on the sides, which if you look at the PRS trem, that design really obviously came also from like a classic Fender trem, but he put that wall around the saddles so they don't have the side-to-side movement. A lot of people were saying that, that doesn't look like it's going to be stable, like your hand hits it and the strings move. But because there's two screws in each one, like you can pick this guitar, like if you tried to move these, like I can't move, you don't hear anything. So like there's no way in the world you're going to do anything.
It's not going anywhere.
So yeah, it's a very stable, solid bridge, even though it kind of looks a little, odd, at first. I love the look of it, but it doesn't, like, I was worried about like knocking my hand on it, but it's unmovable. So I mentioned before, it's a Starla bridge pickup, the Type D neck pickup, really chimey, airy sounding pickup. So here's the bridge. There's a lot of spank and stuff to it, and that still is a humbucker.
Wow.
Splitting it. Really cool, kind of spanky tones. Very different than anything you've ever heard from a PRS.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then this neck pickup. Great throaty neck pickup sounds. And they blend really well. That middle position has this beautiful airy top end to it. I don't know how much you're going to hear it through here, but you can almost get acoustic kind of qualities. The Starla is the same way. If you're in that middle position with the coil split, it gets almost acoustic guitar-y in a really cool way. I've used the Starla since about 2011 pretty regularly for touring and stuff like that. And I've done country gigs. I've done. It's a guitar I could bring out, and this would be the same on almost any kind of gig, other than maybe playing metal, drop tunes.
So what would be your main guitar, the PRS?
I like a lot of different stuff, and fortunately, doing the work for them that I do, I have more than I need. So I play. I love the McCarty. If I were to pick just one, the McCarty is probably my favorite. The Starla is night and day different than that. It's like having those two, I could get any tone I could possibly want, really. Everything that they keep coming out with new things that I don't need, but every time I don't have one of these, but I get to play them all the time. But every time I play, I was like, oh, I really want one of those. And that new that 277 semi-hollow baritone with the P90s is the funnest thing I've played in a long time. It just sounds really, really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. So they have too much stuff they keep coming out with, and it's hard not to want it all. It's like, I tell my wife, each one is a different, it's a different palette, a different paintbrush,
That's what I say as well.
Yeah. But yeah, the Vela is really cool. Again, it's you can get really great, like jangly, cool rock stuff out of it. It's again a big departure, but I think if you get a chance to pick one up and try it, it still has the. Like, I look at these as, I love some of the old classic 60s and 70s guitars that, the real vibey, like the Gretches and Rickenbackers and stuff, and they're great, but like the necks can feel really weird sometimes, or they're not always really stable, or you take them out on the road. So like, if you want like the PRS, like stability, playability, like rock solid construction, but you like that vibey, like you like the old, Dan Electros, you can, even with a coil split on this, you can get like a lipstick pickup kind of sound out of, like that, especially with the Starlet with the Bigsby, like get into some really cool sounds, but on a guitar that, you can take on the road and not have to worry about, things falling apart, unless you have a team of guitar techs.
Yeah, well. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
It's Lee from Max Grinder UK signing off. I'll see you next time.